I'm Gary Birtles, one of the old gits from a long time ago. You've got to tune into Tricky Talks, I believe, so just do it. All the best.
Robertson, the first time we've seen them attack them, and there's Francis! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robertson do. And still Robertson, getting his shot in, and a goal! Robertson!
Hello, welcome to the Tricky Talks podcast. We finally made it. The roller coaster of a season is finally over. We can now relax, breathe and reflect on the good and the rocky times. The whole gang are here to reflect on the last game of the season. So how are you, Chelsea?
Come on, Simon, I'm absolutely melting. It is so hot in my house. But other than that, I'm all right. I'm quite sad that the season's over, but glad that we have got another season in the Premier League so we can just relax for a little bit. And then, World Cup. And then back to business with the Premier League.
Yeah, I've lost interest in the World Cup. Can't think why, but we'll come on to that, I'm sure. Kate is here as well. How are you, Kate? It was a sweltering day yesterday, wasn't it?
It was. It was a good day though. Sun was shining over the John Robertson Stand, and it felt like a really nice end to the season.
Yeah, and last but not least, we have Murillo, who attended the game with lots of nieces and nephews, who I believe are now converted Forest fans.
Yeah, pretty much. They were already under the cosh and they'd roll it back. They are classic southeast-based kids. Watch telly a lot, so of course they're Liverpool fans, like their dad, who was born and bred down there. And now I've taken them to a proper match. They're converted. Big thank you also to Nottingham Forest. Jamie McAtee, who at the end of the game gave his shirt across to them, so that was quite a bonus as well, and various other bits. So yeah, they enjoyed themselves and experienced the shelf in A block, and I'm pretty much converted now. They want to go again, that's for sure, so that's good.
That match-worn shirt, is there any sweat on it?
Yeah, lots. He obviously warmed up hard, because to be fair, regardless of how much work he put in, we were all sweating anyway, just by standing there. It was that hot. But no, it's a match-worn shirt, and fair play to him to giving his shirt across. Probably, to him, it's probably no big deal in a way, but the difference that will make to a 10-year-old now, who for the rest of his life is now going to be a Forest fan, probably we should ring Childline and report Jamie Mack. No, it's a great thing.
Right, let's get straight into it then. The first thing I want to talk about before we get on to the events of yesterday, including the renaming of the brand new John Robertson Stand and the team, is a couple of things that happened earlier in the week. The first one is the England squad announcement, of course, which everybody's got an opinion, and I think I can probably guess where we sit, but let's start. We do have to talk about it. It's an opportunity for you guys to vent your spleen at the squad announcement. We'll start with you, Chelsea. As soon as you very kindly raised your hand there.
I didn't even mean to do that. Maybe it was my subconscious going, stop me.
Yeah, it was. So your thoughts? Gibbs-White omitted, unfortunately, but Elliot Anderson very much in the squad.
Obviously, I'm ecstatic with Elliot Anderson being in the squad, but I just cannot, for the life of me, understand Tuchel's decision. When you look at Gibbs-White as an individual player, it's like I keep hearing people bang on about like a number 10 and a number 10 and number 10. He is so versatile. He can play the number 10 role. He then, last season he was more of like a defensive midfielder. Then he can go as a more attacker midfield. Like then yesterday he played more towards on the left. When you look at someone, in order for them to be able to adapt, for them to be able to control a game, for them to be able to be the middleman, to be able to score like what he has, how can you not want to take him? I absolutely have no idea why. And he has never failed to impress anybody. And I don't understand why you've got the likes of, just going to name like, Jordan Henderson, for example, right? All I keep hearing people say is, oh yeah, but he's a good motivator. Well, we don't need a cheerleader coming into the squad, do we? And I'm not being funny. If the manager can't motivate the team, then sorry, but there's an issue there. It really, really winds me up. Oh, yeah, well, everyone can see how frustrated I am with it. And I read Gibbs-White's statement about what he said, and he absolutely just nailed it on the head with that. And I thought, do you know what, mate? Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. I've got to that point now where I was actually quite excited for the World Cup. Now I actually feel like I can't be arsed with it. That's the truth. That's how I feel about it. And it's just that protective feeling over Gibbs-White. But yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'll let someone else chip in.
Yeah, Kate, you saw Gibbs-White's interview that he gave after the game yesterday, and I've read what he said, but I haven't seen it. But what are your thoughts on how he's responded? Because it is a baffling decision. I don't think there's anybody out there who has supported his omission, certainly not from what I've read and seen. I think only the manager is the one who hasn't included him, who is obviously in favour of that. What did he make? How did Gibbs-White officially respond? Because that was the first time he'd kind of come out and said something about his omission from the squad.
So I think already the interview that he did and the words that he said have been twisted a little bit, because if you watch the interview, he came across brilliantly. In essence, what he was saying is that he's been underestimated for most of his career, and it's never stopped him, and this won't stop him either. He was reasonably respectful in what he said around fair play. He gave me a call and we spoke about how I wasn't going to be selected. I think the thing that people have tried to make more of was that he said that he'd got on the wrong side of somebody's opinion. But I don't think you should read more into that than what I'd said previously. It's just about him being underestimated. And you know
by
what?
Tuchel.
Huh?
By Tuchel.
By Tuchel. And you know,
underappreciated, I think.
I hear all the talk, and I hear all the, well, why are we taking this person? Ivan Toney's another one, isn't it? Why is he in the squad? You know, and I hear that all the reasons that Tuchel is spouting for his choices, but ultimately what you've got in Morgan Gibbs-White is the top English goal scorer in the Premier League. Did he finish actually top, not even joint top? Second?
Ollie Watkins scored 2, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, he did, didn't he? Yeah. Okay. So, second, and bang in form. That's the thing. Absolutely bang in form. Chelsea's already said, totally versatile. And you know what? The guy quite literally bleeds for the game, doesn't he? We've seen it, you know? So, it makes absolutely no sense. And sometimes I think, you know, this whole Big Six narrative, he probably does watch more Big Six games, although I think we need to call it the Big Five now. I've heard that too. You know, he probably does watch more of them because they're more accessible and more people do watch them. But for the likes of us that watch Morgan Gibbs-White play week in, week out, and see the skill, the drive, the leadership, the talent, all of it, to us, like, he'd be the first person on that plane. And that is just poor scouting, not paying enough attention. And I love Elliot Anderson. I wish him well. I hope he's still a Forest player when that, you know, World Cup kicks off. I hope he's still a Forest player when it finishes. We don't know if he will be. I am taking nothing away from him, but I bet if you ask Elliot Anderson himself, he would say, why the hell isn't my mate Gibbs-White on the plane next to me?
That's the thing, Kate.
Yeah,
Because
agreed.
stats don't lie, do they? What's he? So this season alone, so he scored 15 goals. I believe is it like 4 or 5 assists as well. You know, he's scoring goals in the Premier League, which is the hardest league in the world, with a team who, you know, we haven't had the best season, and he can still perform like that. It's like, come on.
Yeah, for those watching, we have got the England squad on the screen right now, and Mollo, there are certain names on there that you do have to question. The two I want to focus on, though, are ones that were quoted by Thomas Tuchel himself in Marcus Rashford and Anthony Gordon being the two left-sided attacking players that Gibbs-White seemed to be in competition with. Now, Rashford, you can understand being in a squad because he's been fairly good for Barcelona this season, but Anthony Gordon has only played, I think, 1 game for Newcastle in the last, I don't know, however many long, because he's been injured, or I think it was 1 in 13 games he's played. He was an unused substitute yesterday. Whilst it looks as though he's no longer got that injury that's kept him out, he's not got any sort of form, any sort of fitness at all, and yet he's been included above Gibbs-White, who is the formed player in the whole of the Premier League. And that for me is one of the most baffling things, that he's picked a player who's effectively been injured for the last couple of months over Gibbs-White. I also want to talk to you, Mollo, about the celebration that Gibbs-White did yesterday, because that was right down in front of where you were. Do you think his celebration spoke volumes for how he was thinking about the situation as well?
100%. I think, other than saying Tuchel clearly doesn't rate me, which he's not going to say that in an interview, that's exactly what he was implying in his interview. There's no misreading of it, Kate. He was saying, I've fallen the wrong side of Thomas Tuchel's opinion, and I know I've done his words were something along the lines of, and I know I couldn't have done any more and I deserve to be there. You know, he said it in a really polite, respectful Gibbs-White sort of way, and perhaps I know some of it's been twisted today in some of the papers saying Gibbs-White said he's on the wrong side of Tuchel or something, but it's absolutely right what Gibbs-White said. Chelsea says she doesn't understand Thomas Tuchel's thinking. Now I'm going to flip it slightly and say, I understand why he's done what he's done in terms of that squad. I just don't agree with it. He's picked what he sees as his first 11, traditionally, and most of it picks itself, because the likes of Bellingham and that, they're all shoo-ins, aren't they? Saka's world class on one wing. And he's then gone through this team again and tried to pick the nearest equivalent player, it seems like. And the classic example of that is on that right wing, where you've got Bukayo Saka, who's an absolutely fantastic talent. He's probably, I think I've said before, he's my favourite non-Forest player in the Premier League. I love watching him when he's not against Forest. And then he's thought, well, who can I replace him with if he gets injured or whatever? There's no one out there. I don't think I'll bother looking at form and anything else. So I'll just do what Arsenal do and pick the guy that comes in for him when Arsenal, because he happens to be English as well. And nothing against Madueke. I think he's a really talented young man, but he's not at the level yet to be in a World Cup squad. He might be in the future with his 2 assists and 1 goal. So I just looked through it. It took me a while to figure it out. I just really analysed it, because his starting lineup's fairly obvious, isn't it? But it's that left-hand side where it's really interesting, because in the past he's used Gordon, and as you said, talk to Newcastle fans, Gordon's been terrible in the last 6 months and this season really, and his stats aren't good either. Eze, I really like him as a player. He's quite similar to Gibbs-White, but with a bit more pace and a lot less goals and whatnot. I just don't get it. Rashford's the only one I think I can see him starting with Rashford, and I don't begrudge that, because super talented player who had a bit of a dip in his back. If it's not working, all he's going to do is change the personnel. There's no obvious change of plan. Like when, let's say, Hutchinson the other week where Back was started and he started well, then he faded. So we brought on Hutchinson, who's quite like for like, aren't they? I know there's 1 or 2 differences, but they're both tricky wingers, skillful. One's a bit quicker and one, and a bit bigger, but they're similar sort of players. And that seems to be Tuchel's plan. This is my plan, I'm going to stick to it. If it's not working, I'll replace a few players with like for like, but actually lesser players in most cases, because if Bellingham gets injured or comes off, then it's Rodgers who's not fit to lace. Rodgers is a good, very, very good young player, but he's not in Bellingham's class. So that's all I can see. And as you've said, there's some weird picks. John Stone's probably the best English centre-back in the country over the last 10 years, has played 90 minutes once back in August. It hasn't played 90 minutes since August, sorry. The ones you've mentioned are there. Even Tony scored 30 goals in a pub league. Well, obviously not a pub league, sorry, I'll rephrase that. 30 goals in what's basically like a youth league compared to here. So I just don't understand it. The one I will defend, though, that it's been getting a lot of stick because it's popular and it was right a year ago, Jordan Henderson. Because every time I've seen Brentford play, Jordan Henderson has been very good and very instrumental in them not being crap. And when we played him at the start of the season, we destroyed him in the first half, and then he did come on at half time, and we didn't obviously turn the game around completely, but suddenly we didn't destroy them. But every time I've seen him play, he's been one of their better players, to be fair. Yeah.
Unfortunately, in Jordan Henderson's case, he's another one that's hardly played over the last couple of months. So again, whilst he may have those historical performances behind him, he's not got any sort of form at the moment whatsoever. But for me, my thoughts are that this news around Gibbs-White has totally overshadowed the credit that we must give to Elliot Anderson for making the squad, and it's the first Forest player in the squad since 1990, I read somewhere, and that is a massive achievement for him, to show how far he's come as a player, and to have a Forest player playing for England and probably starting for England in the World Cup as well can't be overlooked. And for me, the Gibbs-White news did that. It kind of overshadowed Elliot Anderson's selection for the squad, but we all know that was coming anyway, Chelsea, so it was pretty much a formality for Elliot Anderson. But what a great thing it is going to be to see Elliot Anderson play for England in the World Cup.
It is absolutely amazing, and I agree with you about the whole, overshadowing thing. And I think it's because, obviously we feel so passionately. I feel like it maybe would probably been the same if that was Gibbs-White in there and Elliot Anderson wasn't. I feel like we would all still, have an element of that frustration in there anyway. But I did look at his Instagram post of when he was a little boy in his England kit. Elliot Anderson, and in the caption on his Instagram, it just said, "Mum, we're going to the World Cup," and oh my God, that really got me. And to have him there and to have him playing as a Forest boy, it's absolutely brilliant, and we all know he's going to play absolutely outstandingly well. And of course we're gonna be there and support him, because that's what we do, But a massive credit to him. He has worked so hard and rightfully deserved that he's in the England squad.
Yeah, absolutely. Just another squad that got announced last week, or a team I should say, was the Europa League team of the season as well, and we had 2 Forest representatives appear in that, Kate. One was fully justified, I think, in Igor Jesus. I believe he was the joint top scorer in the whole tournament with 7 goals, falling one shy of the individual season record for Forest, which stands at 8, I think. But the other selection was Murat, of all players who got in the squad. Your thoughts, Kate, because that one was a bit of a surprise. And again, for those watching, we've now flicked it on the screen.
You have to come to me for that one. I have this debate all the time about Morato. Okay, it was a surprise because maybe we're spoilt. Maybe we're spoilt in that position, and that's why Morato gets such a hard time. But for me, if you're looking at a team of the season in any competition, I'm not going to be waving my Morato flag. No disrespect to the guy. I'm not saying he did bad, he didn't, and I do think as the season's gone on, he has got better, and the mistakes have been, maybe they've been better timed and not led to game-changing mistakes. I don't know. I really hope that this time next season I am nominating him for Player of the Season and saying, "Oh my God, do you remember the end of last season when I said I didn't really rate Morato that much? And now look at him." But at the moment, for me, in terms of our squad on the whole, not just in the Europa, he's not up there with one of the best for me. So I was surprised to see it. That's just my opinion. Tell me I'm wrong, Marlo.
Well,
You're wrong,
I do want to
Kate.
follow up. I do want to follow up your point there, Kate, because the news that broke on the day before was Murillo signing a new extension to his contract as well. So that's going to obviously reinforce the hopefully centre-back partnership of him and Milenkovic next season. So unless there are an injury or two, Morato's not going to be playing week in, week out, you would have thought. Mm-hmm. But what are your thoughts on, I know you weren't keen to talk on Morato featuring the Europa League team of the season, but what about Murillo, Kate, in terms of that new contract? You can talk about that. I'm sure you'd like to. So happy about that, because I really did have this feeling that he was going to go. I think the way the season ended is, like we spoke about it, his slightly long holiday to Qatar bothered me. Just a couple of the performances right before he went off, I was a bit like, I don't know, it just felt like his heart maybe wasn't in it anymore, which really upset me because we love him so much. And I thought, he would be such a loss. So when that news broke, and I do think it was quite unexpected, for it to break and for it to break when it did, I was just absolutely delighted. And the thing that made me laugh the most was, did you read that he said, I love my chant, I need to learn to sing it. Yeah. And I thought, okay, we can teach you, but because it's a good one. We like to sing it, but I just thought, okay. Yeah,
it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And like you say, Murillo and Milenkovic, absolutely what is it you always say, Chelsea? The brick wall that
Brick
is,
wall,
yeah.
brick wall.
And we've got that brick wall reinforced for at least another year. So, yes, please, and thank you.
Yeah, it's a point to make out. It was a year's extension to his contract, which ties him to the club through 2030 now. So only an extra year, but nevertheless, it's an extra year playing for Forest. Let's come on to you, Mollo, because obviously we'll start to focus on yesterday's events.
I'm
I want
a
to.
Murillo fanboy there, if I say what I was going to say.
Yeah. Did you want to say something about Murillo?
I do, because
go on then.
I
Why
think,
not?
and this is not just about Kate, I think the disrespect shown to him for what he's done in that competition is embarrassing, because he's played more minutes as a centre-back than any other of our centre-backs. The typical thing we did was he would play the whole game and the other two would share the load because we needed them for the league, because it was accepted they are better players for the Premier League than him. I get that 100%. Is he our player of the season? No. Is he anywhere near that? No. But he was Mr. Steady Eddie solid and did a good job in that competition, in that position. I don't like the way he's been disrespected for getting in there and the sort of comments that we see. All he did in that competition, 90% of the time, was head it and kick it. Did we concede loads and loads of goals in that competition? No, and he was nearly always the centre-back. I haven't checked exactly the number of minutes or anything, because I don't know if it was one of those games where he was stuck out at left back at one point, but we had Ange as a manager, so we were conceding goals for fun. But across a competition that I've thoroughly enjoyed, and we've all had these amazing experiences, he was our starting centre-back in almost every one of those games. And we got to semi-final, and he's got accolades for what he did. I presume it's based on the score thing that people give you out of 10 from UEFA, and we all have our opinions. And of course, we're biased in another way, like we are with Gibbs-White, in that I'm not an idiot. Yesterday, whenever the ball came to Murillo under a bit of pressure, I'm like holding my breath thinking, don't make a mistake. And he didn't, but there's a feeling that he might do. I think that's affected a lot of people's judgments. I think it's really disrespectful that he hasn't got the accolades from his own supporters for making that team of the season, personally, but maybe that's just me. Being good enough to do what you've done obviously isn't enough, but there we go.
Mollo, I just got the stats up for Murillo.
Yeah.
That you said. So Murillo played 1,155 minutes across 14 Europa League matches for Nottingham Forest.
Sounds like quite a lot to me.
Yeah.
Was that the highest then, Chelsea? Was that highest?
Got to be the highest out of the centre-backs, I'd have thought.
I was going to say out of the centre-backs, it must be. I haven't. I literally just googled Murillo, so I haven't got anybody else's. But like you said,
it can't have been that bad, can it? That we had this centre-back that helped get us to a semi-final. It can't have been that bad, and UEFA have recognised him as one of the best two centre-backs in the competition.
I don't think I said he was bad. I just
and he's not getting the plaudits he deserves for an achievement. We all know the Europa League is not as good as the Premier League. We all know that. Look how Aston Villa absolutely walked it, even against us, to be fair, but generally. And we've seen Callum Wendo score 2 goals in there, so it really is bad. But in terms of that competition, he was one of the best centre-backs to perform in that competition, and that needs to be celebrated and maybe built upon, because I thought he did really well yesterday, which I know we'll probably get on too soon.
I think it's the perception, isn't it, that Murillo is not seen as the first choice centre-half, and for those outside of the Forest kind of family, if you like, probably wouldn't have realised just how many minutes he played, and to see that him in the team above Murillo and Milenkovic, that's why I think people are probably surprised.
I think I got that. I got why he was in there above them, because that is minutes played. I understood that. I just found it difficult to believe that nobody played as many minutes and did better. I'm sorry. It's just my opinion.
Right, if that's Forest family, Jesus, make sure I'm glad my family don't treat me this way if I ever won anything.
Well,
Jesus deserves the accolade. There's no two ways about it. Whether we know we've got better centre-backs or not is irrelevant. We've got better centre-forwards than Igor Jesus, but he was top scorer or whatever, so he deserves the accolade. You know what I mean? I just think it's poor form, really, what we've done as a fan base, because as soon as it came out, there's all these comments about did Stevie Wonder do all that stuff. You think, the guy deserves it. Let's give him his credit. Sorry, that's gone on too long, hasn't it?
That's right. Right, I'm going to ask the Murillo fanboy now to comment on some of the pre-match stuff that went on yesterday. And I'm, of course, talking about the renaming of the Bridgeford Stand, which is now called the John Robertson Stand. And I know, Mollo, you are an advocate of John Robertson and the way he played, and you've loved watching him when he was at Forest. I thought I'd give you first dibs in terms of commenting on the renaming of that, and the shirt on display in the centre of the field, and all of his old teammates there and his family and friends there. It was just a tremendous occasion, wasn't it, pre-match, and a fitting final tribute to John Robertson, if you like.
Absolutely. The only thing I'd say about it is it should have happened 3 or 4 years ago, so he could have appreciated it. But aside from that, it's happened now, and he'll forever, I hope, the name will be there, and the next generations then will ask who was John Robertson, and old farts like me will be able to explain to them he was an absolute magician. There's the quote in the corner there. He's the best player ever to wear a Forest shirt. You look at the likes of Morgan, Gibbs-White, and how amazing he is. Just imagine someone even better, even more influential. He carried us to 2 European Cups in an attacking sense, and it's a wonderful thing. And if you ever get the chance to see Johnny Owen's words about thing happening, they're brilliant, and he is, it's fitting. You know me, I like to get into the game about 2 minutes before kick-off. I was in there an hour before kick-off yesterday to make sure I didn't miss anything to do with it, because this was a special occasion. So, well done to the club for recognising him.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, you mentioned the game. Let's get straight into that then. And they finished the season. Unfortunately, they didn't quite end the Bournemouth hoodoo, but at least they didn't lose. Forest haven't beaten them in, I think we said, 11 attempts, Kate, wasn't it,
12.
last time around, if I remember your quiz question correctly. But I think it was very fitting that Forest's last performance this season was a lot to do with how Morgan Gibbs-White signed off as well. The fact that he ended the season with a statement performance and a statement goal, which was scored from a well-worked free kick routine. He was the outstanding attacking player, certainly in the first half. I know he's a little bit quieter in the second, but I think everybody was. And it kind of fed that growing debate, didn't it, Chelsea, around his omission. And we've already talked about his celebration, but it was nice to see Gibbs-White sign off the season with a goal and a cracking finish.
Of course it was, and you never underestimate him either, and I just feel like in that moment for Gibbs-White, what an outstanding goal that it was, from a free kick, a set piece, kind of making the wall just break into two and going straight down the middle of it. It was just a phenomenal goal, and I did run around screaming around my room with my dad like we usually do. And it was that thing of going, yeah, and that's what you're missing out on. That's how I felt like his goal was. It was just the whole thing. Yeah, of course he enjoyed the fact that he scored a goal for Forest, and we finally, I know it's not a win against Bournemouth, but a draw, so we'll take it. We've ended that run for a bit. But yeah, it was phenomenal, and he played the game so well. He is such a controlled individual, and I know he played more on the left, a slightly more different out of position for him, but he smashed it like he usually does. It's just continuously. I have so much confidence in Gibbs-White no matter where he plays, and I know throughout the seasons we've had some players where they go in their position and go, God, here we go. Like when we had Matt Turner, oh God, we've got Matt Turner in goal, and we had no confidence. I know I bring him up all the time, but I just can't help.
Not a fan, Chelsea. Not a fan.
Absolutely not. No way. No way. And I still even remember Freuler as well. Oh my God, don't even talk to me about Freuler either. Oh yeah, again, no. I just had no confidence. You chuck Gibbs-White on there, when he starts, you get breathe a sigh of relief, and he's there, and he's just a fantastic player, and God, I hope he stays. That's my worry over the transfer window. I just really hope he stays.
Yeah, and I hope you're running around your living room without any sausage rolls nearby.
No, it was pizza yesterday. So.
Okay.
Simon, I'm looking forward to these sausage rolls when I come to Ipswich for the away day. Can we just keep them on the menu, please?
They're from the shop, Kate. Nothing special.
They weren't homemade. The chatter before and during the game, Kate, was can Forest break the curse, so to speak? And unfortunately, they only broke it by not losing for a change against Bournemouth. But I think Forest showed some really good resilience against one of the league's in-form teams, because Bournemouth had come into the game 17 unbeaten in the Premier League. They hadn't lost since early January. They were chasing Champions League football. Yet I felt Forest competed evenly or more than matched them for long spells in that game. And I think we can probably point to a disciplined and competitive performance against arguably one of the division's surprising packages this season. I thought Forest played really well, probably better in the first half than the second. And I saw Ben before the game, and we were both kind of thinking it could have been quite easily a bit of a tonking. But Forest more than matched Bournemouth on the day, and I thought they maybe even deserved to win, Kate.
Yeah, I think despite the heat, I don't think you could accuse either team of being on the beach. You know, it was a good game. It was well fought out. Yeah, they were running out of steam a little bit at the end, but again, really, really hot day. We took the lead, you know, and there was a point where you felt we're good for this. We're good for this win. And I know we've already covered it. I loved Morgan Gibbs-White scoring. I loved that was the first goal into the John Robertson end. I loved his celebration because we were all behind him for that. But they weren't playing like a team that were cursed. And you do feel a bit cursed when it comes to Bournemouth, don't you? I don't know anybody that was predicting a win for that game. I mean, I'm sure there were some people, but I don't know them. So for me, with everything that had happened, with what happened at the Man U game before, where it would have been easy for them to just chuck their boots over and go, oh, do you know what, it's solid, season's over. If we've got to deal with that rubbish. None of that. They came out strong. They played really, really well. I'm going to say that I thought defensively we were good.
I've got a point to make on that in a moment, Kate.
Yeah, I do think defensively we were good, and I think Sells made some fantastic saves again, some really, really, really strong saves. I loved the way that we looked dangerous, you know, every time we broke. And when Taiwo came on as well, same, looked dangerous. You just wanted him to have just a little bit more pace at times, didn't you? But all the way through, you know, even when they equalised, which, you know, wasn't great in terms of how we handled that, but you didn't feel like, well, there's no way we're going to score again. You know, all those things had gone, and it was last day of the season and everybody was quite relaxed, and I think nobody would have been moaning had we got tonked because, you know, it's Bournemouth and it's last day, but it just didn't play out like that. And I had a great time. That was a really good game of football. Really enjoyed it. Fair enough result, really.
Yeah, you mentioned about the defensive performance, and I'll come to you, Mollo, in a second about that. But just before I do, Chelsea, just going back to the Gibbs-White goal, Danny did actually call that, and he's pointed it out to me just now. He wants me to remind everyone that he called it exactly, that it would be a tap to the side and Gibbs-White would finish it. So he wants me to mention that on the pod. So,
fair play.
Yeah, talking about the defence. There's my Americanisms coming in. Sorry.
No.
Too many American football podcasts. Kate mentioned that she thought the defence looked really solid, and I think generally in the first half they did, but in the second half, for me, it became Jack Cunha is not a fullback, because he got absolutely ripped to shreds on that Bournemouth's left-hand side in the second half. I know it was far away from where you sat, Kate, but we had a really good view of that in the BC Upper, and I thought he got torn to shreds, and ultimately they did score from that left-hand side when it was pulled back. Mm-hmm. It just confirms to me that you don't fit round pegs in square holes. He's not a full-back. He needs to stay at centre-back. But did you get that sense, Mollo, when you were watching?
No, it's the opposite side of what Danny said. We were saying for 5 minutes, he needs to get Jacques Cunha off. He's getting ripped apart. And what's even worse, he's a phenomenal talent, isn't he? Do you remember a month or two back, he had 2 or 3 good games, and you had all the people on social media, same ones who probably don't give Morata any credit for that thing, but saying, oh, Jacques Cunha's going to be the replacement for Murillo. He's brilliant. We don't need to worry about losing Murillo, which was just idiocy, because Jacques Cunha is so young. He's a work in progress, isn't he? He's fantastic on the ball. He's getting better and better in the air, and he's quick. But one-on-one defending, which is an important part of a defender wherever you are, and he struggles on the turn. He's got to turn like a Trent Bus, hasn't he? And that goal came from a centre-half position, didn't it? I know he was playing as a right-back, but it was on the kind of just in the middle of the penalty area between the goal and the right. And so where a normal centre-half would be expected to defend. And I don't want to rip him apart, because I think he's going to be a brilliant, brilliant player. But he definitely needs a lot more development. I know we're all clever managers in the stand, but everybody was saying he needs to get Jacques Cunha off, he's getting ripped apart. And he didn't get him off until after the goal. And if he'd have changed that, because as soon as Williams went over there, Williams defensively one-on-one is just, he's right up there, isn't he? You don't want to be one-on-one against Williams, because he'll even if you think you're beating him, he'll come back and get a turn. He's brilliant at that. That's why he's won the Player of the Year in many ways, isn't it? Because he's got up and down the pitch, but he's closed down one side. And then we brought on a left back we were nervous about because his defending and his heading looked a bit ropey last week. But he did okay. And you've nailed it, Simon. Round pegs in round holes. Balance was given. Because I thought it was a weird game. I won't say it was an exciting game, but I thought the first, up until the drinks break, it was boring. Then it just came alive after the first drinks break, and we were pretty good, and we should have gone 2-0 up. Then the second half was good. But they were really on top of us. And we were like, we're struggling here, and they scored and everything else. Then another drinks break came along, and we came out, and we were back on top. And we were saying, those drinks breaks have done them no favours today, and yet they spent about 3 hours having theirs, didn't they? It's so bizarre. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Jacques Cunha is a fantastic talent, but he's a centre-back. He needs to keep learning his trade. And my only concern is, where does he get the minutes to learn his trade? Because we need him in the squad at the moment, don't we? Injuries happen, so we can't exactly send him out on loan to play. But he needs game time to learn his trade. It's the sort of same thing we had with other players, isn't it? Like Zach Abbott or whoever. And he's, it just wasn't his day, and he's not a right back.
Yeah. We were saying exactly the same thing where we were sat in the upper Brian Clough. We could see that he needed to make a change, and as soon as, like you say, Williams went over there, they stopped that flow on that left-hand side. So it was again another demonstration by Pereira that he can recognise those sorts of scenarios where there is an issue and fix it. And maybe, arguably, he did it too late. But
yeah, so you're being generous there. A blind man could recognise that one. It wasn't a tactical genius one, was it? It was like, they're coming down that left again. He skinned Cunha again. Where's Cunha? That's been brutal. But it's a brutal game, isn't it? And he struggled. Yeah, so I thought the two centre-backs were outstanding.
Yeah, 1-1 it finished then. I don't think we need to go too much into the ins and outs of the game itself. But we do want to talk about a couple of players. Start with Elliot Anderson. I don't know whether you guys were watching him pre-warm-up, in the warm-up and post-match on the appreciation lap, but was he waving goodbye? I mean, I'd take the example. You probably didn't see this on the TV, Chelsea, but when they broke the huddle just before kick-off, he ran over to the Brian Clough and started clapping, and then ran back to dump his tracksuit. I don't know if, it's the finer things you look at. I don't know whether he does that every single game, because you don't pay attention to every single movement, but I was paying attention to him to see whether you could kind of think of it as a goodbye wave. On his lap of appreciation, he led them around as they walked down the Brian Clough stand. He was leading the group, again clapping. It's like, well, am I reading too much into that? Would he have done that anyway? Don't know. But do you think he was... I'll obviously stick with you, Kate and Mollo, as you were there. Do you get the sense it was a wave goodbye, or are you just reading too much into it, given the rumours that are doing the press at the minute?
No.
I don't think he knows any more than we do. I don't think anything is a done deal. It could be. He must be aware of that. We certainly were. It was the end of the season. They were all waving,
We've heard it before with Gibbs-White, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out not to be.
And I think that's the thing that gives us hope that he may stay, is what happened with Gibbs-White. And I say I'm a Forest fan, so I'm biased. I don't think it'd be a disaster for his career if he did stay, if he gave us another season. I don't think that, would be bad for him. I don't think he's unhappy. I think he's quite happy here, playing with the people he plays with. I think there's lots and lots of positives. We all know he's top of the transfer list in terms of people that are being spoken about in the media, but that doesn't always translate. And it's like I said before, if he goes, then I wish him well. Thank him for his time. He's been great. I hope he stays because he makes our team better. And I do think you're reading too much into it in was he waving goodbye or was he just waving, and we don't know, and neither does he, is my opinion.
Could have had family and friends sat over there in a box for all we know, couldn't he? You just don't know. I'm with Kate on that, definitely. He doesn't know what's happening yet. the rumours about terms have been agreed with Man City is agents talk, trying to stir things up. I think the news coming out last night that we're in no pressure to sell anyone for financial fair play means that if he goes, it'll be on our terms for the money that he's worth rather than what they hope to pay for him. I think, I don't know, we had this debate last week about who's mostly, but I do think it'd just be such a big hole because I'd go so far as to say he's a generational talent because he can do absolutely everything. You know, we've got lots of other centre midfielders and they've all got their strengths and they've all got their weaknesses, but he doesn't have any weaknesses and he's only 23, so please, keep him.
I know there are rumours in the media that Man City in particular want to wrap him up to a deal before the World Cup, but for me, if he's going to go, I'd like it to be after the World Cup, where if he has a good tournament, then his price is going to go even higher. And like you say, Mollo, if Forest do decide to sell, it'll be on their terms, and I want their terms to be maximised, and that means him having a good World Cup. So,
and also those terms to spill into the next financial year.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is really key as well. That's something that needs to be considered. I mean, they're not stupid. Marinakis is a successful businessman. He'll do what's right for the club, and we have to trust him on that. So moving on from Anderson, we're going to talk about the Forest Player of the Year announcement. And Chelsea, we did put out a poll on Instagram before the game where we asked fans, you know, what would they like, who would they like to see as their Player of the Year. I've flicked it up on the screen right now. So we asked, you know, gave them a choice. Would you like to talk through the final results from a fan perspective? And this was before the game.
Yes, so Morgan Gibbs-White got 50% of the votes. Elliot Anderson got 7% of the votes, which I'm quite surprised about. Kate Sneeko Williams, 36% of the votes. And then I've got someone else, please state, is 7%. I'm just having a little look.
I'm intrigued about who the someone else is.
Yeah,
well,
the person did state, did they?
No, I don't think whoever it was, they did state. So unfortunately, we're not going to know that. But, you know, it was interesting where that fan poll led to, because we're all going to do our end of season awards in our next podcast, and that will include the final Tricky Talks podcast Player of the Season. And you guys don't know this yet, but before we reveal that in our next show, I'm going to ask each of you to put the case forward for a particular player, so be prepared. Okay, so we'll more of that in the next week's show. But
if you give me Sangare, I won't be impressed.
Well, it'll be the top it'll be the top three. So when we do the man of the match, when we tally up the final results, we'll pick out the top three, and you can each have a top three to make your case.
All right.
Right, thanks for that, Chelsea. But yeah, Kate, we have to come to you because Nico is your favourite. You are Nico's biggest fan. It was a well-deserved Player of the Year award. I think we got a sense of it might lean towards him before kick-off anyway, because they kept the results public on the Forest website. But thoroughly deserved. And for those who haven't seen it, I have put a clip of Nico receiving his award on our social media, and you can see the reaction from his teammates, just what he means to the team as well. And I guess you stayed behind and got a real close-up view of that, Kate, didn't you, afterwards?
Yeah, I did. It was all very close to where I sit, which was nice for me. And I have to say that I had gone Morgan for this year just because I feel he's given so much. If you ever ask me who my favourite Forest player is, I'm always going to say Nico. I just love him. And you know, there was that brief little bit of news around him potentially moving, and I can't even begin to process that. I don't know what I'd do. It would be a period of deep mourning if anything like that ever happened. So just so he's aware that can't happen. Can't ever do that to me, Nico. So yeah, I loved it, and I loved that they kind of made, like, it wasn't quite an arch, they didn't put their arms up, but they lined up either side, didn't they? And then he kind of ran out, and he was just like a kid, you know, like the 10 and 11-year-olds that I coach when you give them a trophy. He was just like that, the way he like ran up and grabbed his trophy and had the biggest grin on his face. You know what he said and how much, you know, he epitomises the togetherness and the friendship and the fun of that team at the moment, and that whole little, I don't know, ceremony really spoke volumes of that to me. You know, they were all genuinely chuffed to bits for him, having a really nice time and having a good laugh together. And, you know, we talk about each week we talk about man of the match and performances. Nico Williams, we've said it before, he is Mr. Consistency. He can always be relied upon, and that is so important in a team, to have somebody that never falls below that sort of 7, out of 10 kind of mark, 6, 7, 6, 7. It's so important, and I love that was recognised, and let's hope that his extra year or two on his contract is the next announcement that we hear now. I did wonder if they'd do it at the same time. Nico Williams, player of the season, and he's signed till 2045.
What they should have done is actually get him to sign the contract on the pitch there and then.
I'll hold his pen. Yeah.
There's a comedy moment attached to that whole thing, though. Like, obviously, A Block's a different type of fan to most of the rest of the ground, a proper old school football fans. And when he started talking, he was going on. I won't name the person who said it because they might not thank me for it, but it wasn't my thing. But some wag said words to the effect of "flipping heck, it's not the Golden Globes." Everyone just fell about because it was cringe. It was cringe. He's a brilliant player. I love him, but say thanks to my teammates, but it literally was. I was waiting for.
Well, may that man wash his mouth out with soap, because I loved it.
It was spot on because everybody was wetting themselves, and it's a different thing. The lack of appreciation of what? Avoiding relegation, or was it them appreciating the fans? I don't know. Maybe I've got it the wrong way round. But I was like, right, let's go. But the younger folk went, no, I want to stay, and obviously I'm glad they did because I got James McAtee's shirt. But it's just like, come on, old school, a lack of appreciation for.
Yeah, right. You mentioned about Nico behaving like a little kid, Kate. I don't know whether you noticed, but the funniest thing of the lack of appreciation was when Morgan Gibbs-White had his little boy kicking footballs into the goal, and when he scored, his little boy kept doing the Morgan Gibbs-White celebration. I thought that was hilarious, and
he's so cute. He's so cute.
Right, for the fiery final time this season, shall we do a Mollo's moment?
That's a difficult one, isn't it? I was going to go for the wag who said it's not the Golden Globes, but instead it's got to be Gibbs-White's goal, hasn't it? In the circumstances, I think somebody said it previously, he's either going to have an absolute stinker on the back of what's happened, or he's going to score again. And not only did he score again, he scored an absolutely lovely goal. So without a doubt, that, and the accompanying chanting that went with it and songs that went with it, of course, all part of that moment. So Morgan's
Did
goal.
you say it was a wag that said about the Golden
Not that
Globes?
kind of a wag.
I was going to say maybe it was the pitch was full of wags at one moment. Maybe one of their voices came across the
I don't
mic.
like that either, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I know. Right, let's also. Yeah, thanks for that, Mollo. Appreciate that throughout the season. Let's do our final man of the match votes, shall we? We'll start with you, Chelsea. Who are you going to go for?
Gibbs-White, please.
Excellent. Kate, who are you going to go for?
Gibbs-White.
Is it a hat trick?
Mollo.
No, Gibbs-White.
Yeah, see, had the game ended at half time, I'd have certainly said Gibbs-White. But he had a really quiet second half, I thought. I don't know whether, to be fair, they all wilted in the heat, so it's only to be expected. But, I'm going for Sangare. I think he had a really solid game. I thought he did okay. So, it doesn't make any, it's not going to make, it's a hint, Mollo, it's not going to make any difference to the end of season Player of the Year awards. But
I think you're doing a Thomas Tuchel there, though, because you're basing it on the first half. Because you said he wilted second half. Sangare did more than wilt second half. You might as well have put on a Bournemouth shirt.
Right. I know we're nearly at 50 minutes, so we're coming to the end of the show. And apologies, Kate, I know you had a quiz lined up, but is it a question that can hold for the next one?
No!
Go on then. All right, go ahead quickly then. We'll see what we can do. Mollo, we're going to have to guess on the spot.
Yes,
rather
you
than wait to
are.
the end.
No pressure.
Gosh, leave me out of it.
And I'm going to have to... I have to be careful how I say this, so I want you to understand the question. Okay? So not including Vitor Pereira, because that's too easy. Name the last 5 managers who were in post at the end of the season. Okay? So just to qualify exactly what I mean by that, because I know it can be misconstrued. I'm not looking for 5 seasons, I'm looking for 5 managers not including Vitor Pereira because that is too easy, that were actually in post and finished a season as Nottingham Forest manager.
Okay, right. Unless you're a Morato fanboy, you're not going to get the answer to that question really, really quickly. So, Molo, you think of that whilst perhaps Chelsea gives the final FPL update of the
I'll
season.
see you on a time on that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start from the bottom up. Kate, you finished in 27th place, not 28th. You've gone up one. You got 72 points this week
Had a
with
good
your
week.
triple
Do you know
captain.
why? Triple Captain Morgan.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And your overall points were 2,024. So you still done well, Kate. And then it's me. I went up to 14th place with 61 points with an overall score of 2,166. Molo, you went up to 11th place this week with 74 points. I saw that you captained Fernandez. What a very good move for you, Molo.
Did you see what else I did?
No.
I picked lots of Spurs players and
Oh,
Leeds
yeah.
players with the
You paid your
intention
free
of,
hit, didn't you?
if Tottenham didn't go down, at least there was a little bit of consolation.
But you did. You scored overall 2,196. So you done very well. And then here he is, Mr. Simon Myers, who finished in second place overall, but first in our little four, with 64 points this week, with an overall score, people, of 2,293. Well done, Simon. Well done.
Thank you, Chelsea. Who was the winner overall, though?
The winner overall of our league,
Parry.
drum roll please, is Gareth Parry. So his name was Chris Wood, again ole ole, with a grand total of 2,127 points. So if you do listen to the pod, Gareth, can you please drop us a message in our Instagram, Facebook, however, just give us contact and you can claim your prize for this season. So a very big well done
You're
to
now
you.
Simon's new nemesis.
I know, yeah, look, Simon's
Yeah.
like, no, I came second, but that's not
Right.
enough.
Yeah, Gareth, you're not allowed to enter next year. No. In all seriousness, congratulations, Gareth. You've been there or thereabouts all season long, so well done for that. Are you pleased, though, Chelsea? Jack, your cousin, didn't win overall? Are you gutted for him?
Quite pleased.
Yeah, I was gonna say to you on last week's show, but I forgot that I knew Jack wasn't going to win because he decided last week to captain Dewsbury Hall from Everton, which was a really bizarre thing to do, and I couldn't understand that one.
No, he does that. He likes to go for bold moves so other people don't do it. We have a predictions league as well in my family, and sometimes like he'll put randomly like, oh yeah, 5-0, just so he gets more points than other people. Like if a real weird, obscure thing happened. So yeah, sometimes he does that. But he shot himself in the foot and he's only got himself to blame. That's what I say.
Yeah, I was a little bit concerned before kick-off because I was hearing that Man City made wholesale changes, Arsenal pretty much rested everybody, and that took literally 4 players out of my squad just like that. So I was a little bit concerned, but thankfully it all turned out all right thanks to Captain Fernandez, and he'll be. I'm actually appearing on Door's show later tonight as we speak, and I won his league and his cup. So I'm gonna get him live on air, and I'm gonna ask him what my prize is to put him on the spot
Yeah,
live.
do it.
Don't reveal it
Definitely.
beforehand.
No,
don't
no.
reveal anything, but
No warning.
yeah, I'm gonna put him on the spot.
Brilliant.
Sorry, go on, Marlo. You said something. Sorry, I
No,
didn't
no,
catch
it's
that.
not said.
If he
Clarify
struggles,
Kate's
Simon, ask him
question.
to buy you a Sprite.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Clarify the question.
Do you mean this manager finished the season that started it, or just the ones who finished in post?
The one who finished, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that we're
They
in
could have
post.
only done a month or whatever, but if they
So they
stayed
could
in
have done
post.
it in a month.
Right,
Yeah.
I've got it.
And
yeah.
some of them potentially finished 2 seasons
Yeah.
with us. I'm not giving any but they would only count once. But yeah, so 5 different managers that were in post on the last day of a season, the last one.
Yeah, I've got 2. I haven't had time to think of the other 3. But so go on, Marlo. I'm sure you've got all 5, haven't you?
Nuno, Steve
Yeah.
Cooper,
Yep.
Yeah.
Sabri Lamucci, Chris Hughton, Martin O'Neill.
Yes, well done.
Interesting. Good stuff. Thanks for that, Kate, for bringing quizzes throughout the season. Right, we've just coming up for the hour. Anything else you want to talk about before we draw to a close? Chelsea, will start with you.
I just want to say that I am really proud of everybody this season. God, has it been rough? You know, we've had the excitement of Europe, we've had the fear of relegation, but ultimately we're still in the Premier League. I'm looking forward to next season, and yeah, it was just nice to relax for the last couple of games of the season, but everyone done so well, and it's just amazing to be a Forest fan. So a big round of applause to, you know, all the players and to Pereira for coming in and just helping sort out the mess that was Forest back in February. So yeah, roll on next season.
Kate, anything from you?
Echoing everything that Chelsea said, thank you to you guys. I've had a great time being on Tricky Talks this season as well. It's been an absolute pleasure talking about it, so thank you for that. Shout out to Notts County, who are about to get promoted to League One and will have the joy of a Leicester derby coming their way, so well done to them.
It's full time, Kate. It's full time. The final whistle has just gone and they've won.
It's just flicked onto full time. So yes, well done to a Nottinghamshire team that can make a 1-0 semi-final league count and go on and win a final. Well done to them. But no, it's been emotional, guys, hasn't it? But it's also been all the reasons why we love our team and why we're Forest fans. Life is never dull.
And final word from you, Milo.
Yeah, to be the grumpy old man, pick up on what Kate said there, you're right. Life is never dull as a Forest fan. But I don't swear on life, but it's been an absolute rubbish show of a season outside of Europe until Vitor came in and did what he did, and fair play. But it's kind of skewed it, hasn't it, in a really good way. It's made it feel like it wasn't that bad a season. But just look at that league table. It never lies, does it? You've got to sort it out in the summer, keep the players. I do believe that without Europe and with the fact that all those players are a year more experienced, I'm not necessarily talking about your Nicos and your Gibbs-Whites who are already there. Those other players, the squad players who started to perform in the second part of the season, especially under Vitor, could be important. But I'm the opposite. I'm glad the season's over. Save some money and get ready to go fresh next season, because it's not been a fun season, except for Europe has been immense.
Yeah, I'd echo that for sure. I think next episode we will do our season review, so we'll all have a vote for things like best goal, best away day, best most improved player, biggest bust, all that kind of stuff like that. And of course we will reveal our Tricky Talks podcast player of the season, which was a collation of all of our man of the match votes throughout pretty much every. I think there were one or two games that we didn't do for various reasons, but the majority of games I think we did cover, so I'm interested to know who's going to win that. In the meantime, thanks everyone for listening or for watching, and we shall be back with you real soon.